have to have that faith and that strength to keep going in the face of what seems to be even judgments in the mind, like this is so slow. That can be a persistent judgment that wants to come in there. It's taking too long. But if you really have that spark in your heart, that's going to carry you, that's going to lift you. And we're all there with you. And that's one of these great things about these online retreats. You get a lot of support in many, many, many ways. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you.
So next up is Julie Bergeron, David.
Hi. Do you hear me well?
Yes.
Yes.
Good.
Very well.
Well, I'm so happy to be here in this retreat, and this title really, really inspires me. And it's living under Christ's control, and it's kind of Christ's control is like a cruise control. A bit like a GPS too, because and I have it reminds me of what I feel. How can I put it? What I can imagine it is, and I have glimpses of that freedom and an expansion when I let myself be in his arms. And a metaphor in my life is that I had no sense of orientation. So south, north, west, east, I never had a glimpse of, except that, okay, the sun is going down that way, so it's the west. Okay. But if I drive, I have no sense of, So when the GPS started, or when I have my first GPS, I was like, oh my God, my life is changing. I can go anywhere now. I just need to listen and follow, And it's, so it's been a life-changing having a GPS, and it's kind of what I expect to be, but in a bigger way, or anyway, more expensive. And lately you were asking, David, what keeps, what was it? What is holding you back? And I think for me, there's a lot of shame, and it's a shame that brings more shame, right? It's like an endless, seems to be an endless darkness that is playing tricks on me. And it's shame that I still believe in lack, I guess, because I'm in lack and I'm going in debts. And I want to know, I want to understand what is the difference between going through darkness, having unconscious or darkness from the subconscious, because I'm going through a lot of anxiety and fear, and the difference from before the course in my life is that now I know that this too shall pass. I know that it's illusion, but when I'm in it, even though I know it's illusion, and I keep doing my lessons and I keep listening to speakers, but I'm still in a lot of darkness. And when I'm in that darkness, I tend to isolate. And my question is, allowing darkness to coming up and release it to the Holy Spirit. But it seems like it's endless these days, these weeks. And so when we say, if we're not in our joy, it means we are in our ego mind. So that this is where the guilt and the shame comes from, I guess, kind of a spiritual, I'm not there yet, or so yeah. I'm happy to be with you anyways. I'm so happy to be with you and to express. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Julie. Yet it feels like the darkness is like this dark pit of sometimes call it unworthiness or lack, and that's where that deep sense of shame can be. And it reminds me of that, but that Shania Knowles song, "How could anyone ever tell you were anything less than beautiful?" Like, it's almost like we're all these children and we have these amazing gifts, just spectacular gifts, and yet they've been covered over, and so we don't have confidence in them. I mean, I was talking to somebody recently, and I was saying, I was voted most quiet in my senior class. I was just so shy, and I'd kind of fumble around, and I couldn't even enunciate clearly because I was unsure, I was uncertain, I was unworthy underneath, and I didn't have my confidence. So as we start to open up to miracles, we have to realize we do have to be gentle on ourselves, because we're going to have to build a confidence up with our miracle working. And the best way that we do that is when we are guided together like this in different ways, on online retreats, or I remember that time when you came down to Mexico here, and oh my gosh, the joy and the laughter, and you start to feel so wonderful because you can feel the love and you feel it pouring through you, and it feels so natural, and everything's taken care of too. It's like the whole situation is arranged, and you aren't even trying to figure anything out. It's like you're on a magic carpet ride, and that's what I call a confidence builder. We need the confidence builders. And then once we start to get our confidence going, we get stronger and stronger. Sometimes people will say to me, even with our community, they will say, you have a very strange community. You have these houses around, and now you're going to get another one over in Europe now, and Utah and Mexico and this. But these are like little incubators. These are like little safe containers. These are places where people can begin to let their gifts, their skills and ability be used not for productivity or to try to expand the gross national product of whatever country, or even to invent things to make the world a better place. It's just letting those intrinsic, natural, innate gifts that are in there, in your soul, and ready to come out, to come out. And then when they do, the most amazing kind of collaborations happen, and the most amazing joyful things. We're just celebrating Svava's album coming to completion, and she could tell you, even letting these songs come through, she was trembling because she had never done anything like that before. She wasn't a writer, and she didn't have confidence in her voice, and she didn't know how to put together an album, or with all the things, the technical things, recording and mastering and mixing and all kinds of things. And it is like a walk of trust, but it's almost like we water the garden, we water the flowers, and then those stems come up, and then those flowers come out, and then poof, those flowers open in all that sunshine, and we go, yeah, this is wonderful, this feels great, this feels natural. So it's kind of you have to really nurture yourself and keep the faith as best you can, because what's been hiding these seeds all along has been this darkness and this shame and this unworthiness. And it's a big turnaround. And also it can get overwhelming when you think, is it like a bottomless pit? Does it ever stop? Usually when you have a big burst of love, then, oh my gosh, they call it spiritual ego backlash or ego whiplash comes in. And Jesus even describes that in the Course. He says, when you moved into the light, you will rush to darkness. He's describing almost like a pendulum of huge joy, expansive joy, not of this world joy, and then shrinking down into like the throes of darkness. Kind of like Edgar Allan Poe, The Pit and the Pendulum, or some of the Raven, some of those old writings that, very, very dark. So we're with you in this because we've been called together, and our purpose is the nurturing part, is to find ways to nurture together this love and this light.
Thank you for listening to this edition of Awakening to True Happiness with modern-day mystic David Hoffmeister. You can access more of David's teachings by visiting his website at davidhoffmeister.com. Tune in to David again next week on Evolutionary Voices for the Quantum Age, heard Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern on the Dream Vision 7 radio network.